Trenton Journal is for people who won't take no for an answer. Trenton Journal is for community leaders. Trenton Journal is for people who won't settle. Trenton Journal highlights some of the positive voices in the community and fills in the information gaps through original reporting.
Welcome to Capital Conversations. I'm your host, Kenneth Miles, founder and publisher of the Trenton Journal. Each episode, we bring you discussions with stakeholders and community leaders. And today I have with me Caroline Clark, who's going to lay out the reasons why the regionalization of Trenton Water Works may not be a good idea. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kenneth. It's
All right,
good to be here.
But before we even begin, I just want to let you know how I discovered you. Basically, I saw a presentation that you did on YouTube, and you answered a lot of questions that I had in terms of the whole idea about Trenton Water Works being regionalized. And I think you laid it out in such a clear way. And I wanted you to let our readers and our viewers know why this may not be such a good idea.
Well, there are many reasons why this is not such a good idea, but I will start with the fact that Trenton Water Works does have some issues, but none of those issues justify selling Trenton Water Works. So by all accounts, we have some management issues, we have infrastructure issues, we have staff that's underpaid. We have a leaking roof, we have electrical issues. But if you came into my house and I had all those things, you still couldn't convince me to sell my house because of it, right? You can tell me to make those repairs, but you can't tell me to sell my house. Just the same way you can't tell Trenton Water Works to sell. You can't tell Trenton to sell Trenton Water Works. At the onset of this, I want to make clear something. The decision to sell or not sell, it lies with the people, the residents, taxpayers, and owners of Trenton Water Works. There was a 2010 referendum wherein we voted to say you cannot sell Trenton Water Works. Nothing has changed about that. So the fact that the state is here and pretty much forcing a sale, it's pretty alarming, in my opinion. We ring the alarm all the time when the other side does things that we think are considered voter disenfranchisement. Well, to me, this is a classic example of voter disenfranchisement. We spoke in 2010 and we're being disregarded in 2025.
I need to back up and just first let the viewers know that you are a Trenton resident.
I am.
But a question that I have for you is, because you've spoken out on at council meetings, right?
I do.
I've seen you on YouTube doing presentations. Why? Why is this so important for you?
Well, I have been a Trenton resident for 25 years. I've raised 2 children in the city, neither of whom currently are here. At the time of the 2010 referendum, I was not steeped in the issues. But what I did understand is that you don't sell an asset in a marginalized city. So I, like the other 79% of Trentonians, voted against the sale. So I started going to council meetings more frequently during the pandemic online, and and then there was an issue that came up about contracts and the riverbank. And I was a little bit alarmed by the boldness of the administration to have paid out monies to people directly rather than through the contracting process, the bidding process. And so it kind of triggered me, if you will, to start being a little bit more vocal and start asking what I think are critical questions about how is this administration governing this city, right? There's a level of lawlessness if you just give out a $200,000 contract, which we later learned it's over $1 million worth of contracts without it going out to bid, right? So what's really interesting about that, though, it's not just that the administration is operating outside of the contours of the law. What's really interesting about that is that we are under state oversight, both Trenton Water Works and the city of Trenton. And yet still, this lawlessness is happening. So the question is, why are we under oversight? And why are we not behaving within the contours of the laws? And the state is pretty much accepting this. The state, it's my understanding that when that contract happened, the state allegedly called council and told them to pass a resolution okaying the expenditure. So basically, DCA is directing our council to okay an illegal act. Why are we under state oversight?
What do you have to say about the scathing report from the Department of Environmental Protection? About Trenton Water Works not being able to manage the utility well? Yeah.
So I started off by saying we have management issues at Trenton Water Works. I believe that is true, but I didn't need their report for that. Okay. I think it is problematic for the state to not, they didn't even put their thumb on the scale, they put their knees on our necks with respect to telling us what to do with Trenton Water Works. The first time Commissioner LaTourette went to Trenton Water Works was to take his own pictures to justify what I believe is a predetermined outcome. If the state was interested in remedying issues at Trenton Water Works, you don't do it in the last couple of months of your administration. You do it in 2018 when you came in and you put us under oversight. So the moment they came in January of 2018. In February of 2018, Trenton Water Works was under oversight. When Murphy came in, there were talks that the MOU was going to be lifted. We were going to be moved from under state oversight. That didn't happen. So instead of us getting out from under the controls of the state, we were put even deeper under the controls of the state vis-a-vis Trenton Water Works. So when they go into Trenton Water Works, in 8 years, they haven't done anything to improve us. Why are we under your leadership? Why are we under your thumb then? If under your leadership, we got worse instead of better. Why? I'll tell you why. Because they wanted to document the failures in Trenton Water Works, not fix them.
So you're saying
so
this is
that
calculated?
They can absolutely, it's calculated. Absolutely. What would justify you coming in and 1 month after you're in, you've decided we needed to be under oversight? When I worked for the state, 1 month after coming in, you barely know where your secretary's desk is. Okay? So I don't understand how you came in, and at the moment you came in, you knew we needed to be under oversight. I have a copy of a compliance history from the DEP. And if you look at it, it's public document, DEP compliance history page. Between 2009 and 2018, there were 4 incidents in 9 years of non-compliance where we had problems, we were documented, told to remedy, and presumably we did. Now, in 2018, when we got placed under consent order, and just for the record, between February 2014 and July of 2018, there was nothing that happened. In July of 2018, we start seeing consent orders from DEP. Well, interestingly enough, in July of 2018, the legislature introduced a bill to move Trenton Water Works from under the city of Trenton to place it under Mercer County's governance. So right when they started to document us, the same time they were moving on the legislature. It was a multi-pronged effort, in my opinion, to remove Trenton Water Works from under the city of Trenton, to take it. This is a state takeover, and it is a hostile takeover of the city of Trenton's asset.
If the utility, Trenton Water Works, if it is regionalized, what does that mean to residents of the city and the city itself?
Well, it doesn't, not only, it means higher water rates. It means the loss of jobs in the city of Trenton. And those higher water rates are not just for Trentonians, right? For all the customers out there who were screaming about they want to regionalize Trenton Water Works and they want to own Trenton Water Works and they want to have shares in Trenton Water Works, for all those people, or the constituents of those people, just know that you will be paying about 60% more for your water than you are now. And you'll be doing that monthly, not quarterly, right? We have a loss of jobs, but most importantly, we will have lost a $60 million asset, more than $60 million, right? And the thing about that is, it's not just, oh, we're losing 60 million. We are the capital city. We do not get taxes from all these state buildings that are sitting on our prime real estate, right? To the tune of $69 million. If you read that report from the Department of Justice about the errant police officers at the Trenton Police Department, there is a footnote in there that notes that the city of Trenton is losing about $69 million in tax revenues because we are the capital city and the state is not required to pay taxes. They're not required to pay taxes, but they should be required to give us payments in lieu of taxes. And if we have been able to survive to this level without that $69 million, which no other municipality in the state of New Jersey has to do that. Okay, so if we have been able to survive, I am going to tell you now, Trenton Water Works has been one of the reasons, because we have been able to use some of the money from Trenton Water Works to balance our budget. So when we lose that, we're still not going to get the taxes. We're still not going to get that payment in lieu of taxes. And we're going to lose a means of subsidizing. So they say, well, if you sell it, you're going to get an influx of money. Trentonians ain't never gonna see that money, okay? Just like we don't see the COVID money. We are not going to see that money, and it's a one-time influx. Why would you give away the goose that lays the golden egg? Why should we not want something that they want so badly? There's a reason for that. They want it because it is of huge value. Monetary value. Corzine, Wall Street governor, he tried to sell Trenton Water Works. And here comes another Wall Street governor. Why do you think? Because they understand the value of water on the stock market. You heard Mayor Martin say he wants to buy shares in Trenton Water Works. That's because they plan on privatizing it. You don't buy shares in publicly owned utilities, right?
So what can residents who want to keep Trenton Water Works within the city, what can they do?
Well, what we need to do is organize. We may not like each other on a whole lot of issues, but I do believe that we love each other under this mantra of Trenton Water Works. I believe the city is united in our love for Trenton Water Works. It's a part of our DNA. Like I said, I've been here for 25 years. I've never really been very active, but this issue got me up out of my house and in here at 10 o'clock in the morning having this conversation with you, because after the whole George Floyd and this awakening, right, where people are understanding what happens, how do we become inner cities, right? How do we create, ghettos, right? This is part of that. This is what it looks like in real time. We don't become a ghetto overnight. Okay, we become a ghetto when you start to take out critical services. You take our hospitals, you take our libraries, right? You take but you keep a police department by the Department of Justice's assessment operates outside of the law in many instances. And I want to say, I am not disparaging our police department. We need our police department, my opinion. We don't need bad police officers in the police department. They give the good police officers a bad name. And I take the position that if you are a good police officer and you do not speak up about bad police officers, then you're not a good police officer.
Also need to back up too.
Go ahead.
For anybody who's watching this, you're not just sitting on your couch and just reading the newspaper. You have a special skill set. Your law background, right? So you used to research and you actually researched this matter as well.
I
Spent
did.
some time.
I did a lot of reading, a lot of researching, but mostly a lot of listening to the state. If in 2009 you wanted to sell, and now you have the commissioner of DEP going into the legislature and telling them the only way for Trenton Water Works to survive is to untie it from the city of Trenton. Well, again, that is not putting your thumb on the scale. That's putting your knee on our necks. You're forcing us. You're telling our council that they must do this. You see, because the state cannot just take over Trenton Water Works. Council has to give it to them. So that's why he came into council, into our house, and told us that we need to do what he told us to do, not what the residents told us to do from 2010 till now, which is do not sell Trenton Water Works.
How do you liken to what's going on in Trenton to Flint, Michigan?
Unfortunately, the similarities are scary. Okay, so in Flint, you had a huge industrial sector that dried up. Then you had white flight, and then you had the downward spiral. In Trenton, we had a huge industrial sector that dried up. We have a lot of white flight, and then we're here with the last remaining asset, really, aside from the resources, our people, and we're trying to take that too. So Commissioner LaTourette was the one who opened the door to say that we were like Flint, Michigan. And I had not really thought about it. So again, I thank him for that. So I decided to research Flint, Michigan. And what happened in Flint with respect to the water was that they changed the provider of the water. The state changed the provider of the water. They assigned a person to be in charge of that. That person made the decision to change, I believe it was from, I want to say Detroit's Water Authority, but don't quote me on that one. But they switched it to a river, I think it's the Flint River. And see, ordinarily, that decision should have been made by the council in Flint. But instead, one state-appointed person was allowed to make that decision. Well, what do we have here? One state-appointed person making the decision instead of our council, and then trying to command our council to do what he told them to do. And some of them are receptive to it. I'm going to tell you that straight. I've heard everybody with their mouth say that we're not for selling Trenton Water Works. Okay. but your actions are not matching up to your words. Okay?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't want this show to be about that. I want it to be about Trenton Water Works. But I will come back to talk about that if you'll have me.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is there is one council person that I have heard full-throatedly, unabashedly, unequivocally say, I'm not for selling Trenton Water Works. I'm not for moving it. I'm not for doing anything except improving it. One person who said that full-throatedly, okay? The others have said, iterations of that, but I see some movements happening there that makes me a little bit queasy, to say the least. But we'll leave that for another time. I want to talk about the regionalization. I want to make sure I impress upon folks that regionalization is a misnomer. They don't want to use the word sale because they know that it gets Trentonians, it gets us up and running, right? So we started using euphemism of regionalization. Well, as I explained in the video, in the government space, regionalization typically means that you different entities from the region. So, for example, the school district, Trenton School District and Lawrence's School District and Ewing School District would come together and they would either buy goods and services under one umbrella, right? Or they would consolidate the schools itself and have one big school and kids from all the region attend. Same with the police department. I believe they did that up in Camden. They regionalized the police department. In this instance, Trenton is the only one that has a water utility. So nobody else is bringing anything to the table. No expertise.
You're talking about, you're speaking about the other cities that share Trenton Water Works, Lawrence,
Ewing, Hamilton. Yes. I'm speaking of those cities. Yes, they don't have a water utility to bring to the table. So what they're doing is they're regionalizing Trenton's water. It's not a regionalization initiative. They're taking Trenton's water and sharing it up amongst the region. I'm going to tell you something that I read this morning in the newspaper. There was a controversy about a farm in, I believe, Cranberry that the government decided that they were going to eminent domain, I believe, and build affordable housing on it. This current administration decided to do that. So the residents there, they were up in arms. They brought their cause to the media, and it's gotten national attention. So at the time, the administration said that is the only place that they can put affordable housing. So this morning, I read in the newspaper that somehow the state has decided that that's not the only place they can do affordable housing, and they're now backtracking from that position, right? So I find it interesting that if the people hadn't pushed back, if there wasn't that kind of light shone on the whole thing, there would have been no backtracking. The state would have eminent domained those people and would have taken their property and would have done affordable housing. I'm not against affordable housing. I'm for affordable housing, okay? What I am against is the state being a bully and saying things that are not true so that they can justify their actions, okay? So here we are, Trenton Water Works. The mantra is Trenton's water is unsafe. That is not true. Every single thing that you read from them is about... Do
you drink the water?
I drink Trenton's water. I do. Okay. I have a water dispenser in my house. It's hooked up to the pipes, and it filters the water, and I drink the water. But I lived in Philadelphia. I had that same filter. I mean, anywhere that I go. The grade in this country for our water is a C-. Nationally, okay? So I say that to say, I am not saying to you that Trenton's Water Works is Perrier, which even though there are problems with Perrier too, but I am saying to you that Trenton's water does meet federal standards. It is safe water, okay? We have American Water rents some of our pipes That means they're selling Trenton's water as American water. I don't hear any rumblings about that, right? I have a notice that I snapped from the internet. Here is an advisory that was sent in December of 2024 about American water, the odor and the problems that they were having. I say that to say ownership is not tied to the problems at the water. Management is tied to the efficiency of what happens at Trenton Water Works. But the quality of the water is not tied to the ownership of the water. And it is disingenuous of the state to try to make that argument. It is lame because they do not go into private water companies and pick them apart and do 16 different citations about all that's wrong with those water. It's the same water in some instances. Legionellas.
Yeah.
Okay? Legionellas. Again, Mr. LaTourette came to our council and came on a news report. We have Legionellas, for God's sakes. We did. But we're not the only ones. There are 5 other townships that have had incidents of Legionella. And some of those are served by Aqua American and American Water. No one ever tied the Legionellas to the ownership of the water. So why are we doing it here? The difference between what happened with the Cranberry Farm, because the government is backtracking, they won't backtrack on Trenton. You see, at the farm, they were taking the farm from white people.
I was gonna ask you.
They were taking the farm from white people, and they were going to build affordable housing. And the presumption is that it was going to be for brown people, brown and black people, right? Affordable housing. That's the image that's conjured up when we think affordable housing, right? But in this instance, we're taking it from black people.
Black and brown people.
Black and brown people predominantly, right? And let's be clear, we do have a significant white population too. And I believe they're Trentonians, right? We're Trentonians, black, brown, white, whatever. We're all Trentonians. We stand together on our water, ownership of our water, I believe. But I think it's easy to, quote unquote, criminalize our water, deem it unsafe, right? Safety is always the mantra when you want to go into inner cities, right? Be you the president or the governor, right? So it's always under this mantra of safety. So it's easy to sell that. Yet you haven't given any proof that it's unsafe. You say it's going to be unsafe if we don't do these things. But yet still you walk around and keep saying Trenton's water is unsafe. Okay, that is unfair, and it's not true, but it illustrates the level of desperation that the state has with respect to wanting to take over Trenton Water Works.
Now, I got to let the viewers know, when I originally reached out to you, I asked you if it would be okay if I brought on another guest who was pro-regionalization. You said to me, no, because?
Well, because it seems like everybody else is pro-regionalization and they have enough airtime. So I wanted to claim this airtime as anti-regionalization. I am not opposed to having a discussion with anybody at another time, but it seems to me that the media has been pretty much in bed with the state in terms of this regionalization initiative. So I hear the mayor of Hamilton, the loudest of the 5 municipalities, who is pushing for this regionalization. And I can say to him, good job looking out for your folks. But you really should, I think he should check himself. You cannot owe Trenton Water Works $1.7 million in backwater, and then you have the nerve, the audacity to say Trenton Water Works is mismanaged. No, Hamilton is mismanaged because they're not paying their bills. Hamilton has a sewer problem. Attend to that. Don't try to come here and bully us into sharing our assets with you because you want to buy shares, Mayor Martin. Take care of your business over there in Hamilton. Pay your water bills to Trenton Water Works. I don't understand how no one in the media has called him out about that. I owe PSE&G $1.7 million and then I start running a campaign to take over PSE&G. You think that would go over well? Nobody sees the complicity in this. Nobody sees the disrespect in this. And no one has talked about that. You can't scream about mismanagement at Trenton Water Works. You want to go help to manage Trenton Water Works. You're not managing your money over there in Hamilton.
Final thoughts?
I will never have a final thought except to say Trenton Water Works belongs to the residents and taxpayers of the city of Trenton. We are the only ones who can decide if it should be sold. And if they know that they have a compelling case for selling it, then hey, take it to the people and then let us decide. But don't you come in here and command our council to do something that the people have already spoken on and said not to do. Do not sell Trenton Water Works. And stop calling it regionalization, because it's not a regionalization, it's a sale. You've said that the other townships are coming with their checkbooks. Well, the only reason to come with a checkbook is if you're buying something. So it's a sale. So whether it's a sale to the other municipal entities or a sale to American Water Works, it's a sale. And it's a dispossession of Trenton Water Works from the city of Trenton, from the residents and taxpayers of the city of Trenton. And we've already said we're not interested in selling.
Ms. Clark, I thank you for joining us.
I thank you for having me.
All right.